There has been a ton of discussion recently regarding the death of Aerys Targaryen by the hands of Jaime Lannister. Whether or not this was necessary, whether or not Jaime is in the right to do this, and just generally speaking, this event in general and the morality behind it. Now, for me personally, I view this as a very sensible action given Jaime's character and the events that have taken place throughout his life to lead him here. So in this video, I'm going to be defending Jaime Lannister once and for all, and explaining why his actions in this moment not only make sense, but are the best and most logical conclusions. The first thing you must take into account when thinking about this is Jaime Lannister's age at this point. Jaime Lannister is 17 years old when he kills the Mad King. For all intensive purposes, this is still a child. It's also very important to keep in mind the atrocities that he's seen in his short time with the Kingsguard. Aerys wasn't just a bad person, he was absolutely horrific. He burned people alive in front of Jaime, feet away from him. Not only that, he would often assault his wife after, in which Jaime was forced to listen and hear her cry. He separated Jaime from his family intentionally, manipulated him, and basically destroyed Jaime's entire perspective of himself and the world around him. Jaime Lannister's whole goal, aside of being with Cersei, was to be an honorable knight, to be a good person in a way. But Aerys Targaryen absolutely destroys this perspective immediately, by making him a member of the Kingsguard not to benefit Jaime, but to slight Tywin. Jaime Lannister is the ultimate political play by Aerys Targaryen, to keep Tywin Lannister in line and to insult him. Now I want to talk about the atrocities that Jaime witnessed a little more, because not enough people talk about this. Jaime Lannister witnesses the brutal unaliving of both Brandon Stark and Rickard Stark. And for those of you who have only watched the TV show, you don't know this story, so I'm going to tell it to you. Now I'm going to read this off, and it's pretty bad, so warning. Lord Rickard demanded a trial by combat, and Aerys declared fire the champion of House Targaryen. He had Lord Rickard suspended from the rafters of the throne room, while pyromancers lit a blaze beneath him. As he is burned, Brandon was brought into the throne room with a leather cord attached to a strangulation device wrapped around his neck. Aerys told Brandon his father was a dead man, but there was a chance to save him. A longsword was placed on the floor just out of Brandon's reach, and the more he struggled to reach it, the more the cord tightened around his throat. Brandon Stark strangled himself trying to free his father, who was roasted alive in his own armor. The entire court stood and watched this atrocity take place, Jaime and the Kingsguard among them. I quote, 500 men just stood there and watched, all the great knights of the Seven Kingdoms. You think anyone said a word, lifted a finger? No, Lord Stark. 500 men, and this room was silent as a crypt, except for the screams, of course, and the Mad King laughing. And later, when I watched the Mad King die, I remembered him laughing as your father burned. It felt like justice. That is insane. That is insane. He didn't just murder these people, he tortured them in such an unbelievably cruel way. In front of a child. This is the type of trauma that will change a person forever. The type of trauma that will alter their thinking. And this wasn't the only time this happened. Jaime watched a bunch of people burn alive. But now I want to talk about the actual moment that Jaime decides to commit this action. The main reason that Jaime kills Aerys Targaryen is because he's going to burn the city down. He is going to kill everyone. Every woman, every child, it doesn't matter. This man is in the mindset of if I can't have it, no one can. A lot of people like to say that Jaime could have just arrested him, maybe they could have just brought him to the dungeons, but that does not work. The reason I don't think this works is because of the pyromancers and the Targaryen loyalists. There are people that will back the Targaryens just because they're Targaryens. There were people that would support the burning down of King's Landing just because Aerys said so. And the most important part of this is no one knows exactly what all of this wildfire is, aside from Aerys Targaryen and some of the pyromancers. So if any of these people are left alive and left to support this madness, there is a very good chance that all of King's Landing will burn down. There are thousands of pots of wildfire underneath King's Landing. And if you ignite even one of them, you don't even have to ignite all of them, just any section of wildfire, the whole city will burn. So in this moment, I truly do believe the ends do justify the means. Jaime Lannister has been through hell and back, watching Aerys Targaryen commit such atrocities. He is a child, and without a shadow of a doubt, he understands that if he does not do this, King's Landing will eventually burn down. And there is one other thing I want to mention, that being Jaime Lannister's upbringing and why he commits to this action. Jaime Lannister was raised by Tywin Lannister. Tywin Lannister is a man who does not believe in half measures, shown through his character design where he is bald and only has the two pieces of his beard. He is not a halfway kind of person. You are either all in or you are all out. And in this moment, just arresting Aerys Targaryen would be a half measure. It would not ensure that the job is done. Jaime Lannister is someone with the principle of not to take half measures as well. So he does it. In this moment, deciding to brand himself the Kingslayer for the rest of his life, for the greater good. I think in this moment, ultimately Jaime is following the utilitarian perspective, that the best action to take is the one that produces the greatest amount of good, even if there is some suffering involved. And that is why, even though this was a messy moment in the story, even though this could be a quote-unquote bad moment in terms of morality for Jaime, objectively speaking, this was the correct choice. And this is not an action that he should have been made fun of and insulted for the rest of his life. But that is the world of A Song of Ice and Fire. And that is why, in my opinion, Jaime Lannister did the right thing and deserves the defense for this. Just this, though. I'm not talking about the other things.